Hello, and welcome to the Conscious Communion podcast, where we traverse through the inner dwellings of the human experience through conversation. I'm your host, Danae. Join me as we explore the interconnection of creativity and community. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of 2024 with the Conscious Communion podcast. It is a privilege and a pleasure to be here with you now, and in fully recognizing that the 2024 calendar often does not feel like the most activating time for many of us. I'm here to come before you and share that that is exactly where I'm at. I am very much in the process and in the flow of hibernating and finding what feels more resonant for me in this time of stillness and this time of pause. And so, with winter being the season that we are now navigating, really recognizing that there's still so much for me to honor and sit with and be with prior to fully letting creations be birthed. And so, in acknowledging that, I'm here just to open up the space and open up the co-collaboration before you and myself and all those that listen amidst spirit, and how this beautiful interweaving of the interweb and my voice and spirit itself into being a space for conscious conversations to take place. So I would love if we could just get started by taking a few breaths to just land here, ground here now. And so inhaling however feels good for you. And releasing. And 2 more times just like that. Yeah, it has been a wild, wild winter. And through these beautiful initiations that have been calling me forth, there has been such a call to pause. There's lots of changes that are taking place in my midst and taking place in the midst of our world. We're seeing systems crumble. We're seeing changes transpire before our eyes. And I know for many of us, we are beginning to honor the rhythms that are here for us versus what feels like an old program or an old system that has been telling me to do X, Y, or Z, that has been telling you to do X, Y, or Z. And rather doing what feels innate or in alignment for us as individuals. And as we come into the ability to recognize that we'd no longer have to prescribe to what systems are calling forth from us, we get to really create the systems that are here at play by abiding or not abiding by those things. And so I really just wanted to come before you today and talk a little bit about that, and also just talk a little bit about how we can come into the okayness of letting creations be what they are and not allowing them to rule our life when they're not perfect, when they're not some kind of way that we expect them to be. There is, I believe, this call to action for us as individuals. And I believe I've shared this many times on the podcast, but I believe that we're all artists. I believe that we all have a gift and we all have something to share. And so when we come into the courage and the confidence to share that thing, it can often feel really, really scary if we haven't yet shared it. And rather than believing that that thing needs to be perfect rather than believing that that thing needs to be a certain way, allowing it to be put forth in the atmosphere is a part of the creation process as well. And so the world needs your art. I don't know what is being called forth from you. I don't know what seed has been planted within your heart. But I'm a firm believer that the world could witness it and learn from it and be better because of it. And so as we let those programs that no longer feel good for us to be a part of, may that also be a part of the new rhythm that we get to ebb and flow and create through this new current that is calling us forth as a human species. We as a human species is not that old. The galaxy is immense, and we make things so much more complicated than they need to be. But when we get a grand scope of things and the immensity of all that's here for us now, I think it's sometimes really refreshing to just realize that we don't need to take ourselves so seriously. That part of the refreshing act of doing the thing, creating the thing, that in itself is just an ushering of love and a love for ourselves and a love for our art. So breaking past that precipice of what feels uncomfortable is the permission to make our art come alive and to co-collaborate with the divine to then potentially be a mirror to someone else to inspire them in however they're going to create the next thing that could then inspire the next person to do the next thing. And it's this beautiful rippling effect of us creating a new reality. And as we create a new reality, this is just what the new frontier calls us forth to. How are we going to create this new earth that is such a polarizing effect of what we've known, what no longer is working for us? We're the artists, we're the dream makers, we're the co-creators and the collaborators that get to make this thing happen, but we need to have the courage and the confidence to do the thing and ensure that it doesn't need to be perfect, because by making mistakes, we learn. By making mistakes, we learn. So really, I just wanted to share that with you because it feels really, really important for this time and for this age that we're moving into of consciously awakening how we move forth with our art and what inspires us. And so part of this process of the conscious communion has been a really sticky one for me, because so much a part of my past has been this idea that it needs to be a certain way. And this is me standing before you now and sharing that the permission for me has been to come as I am. And that in itself is a labor of love for me and my inner child. And may we all do that for ourselves. May we all really ensure that the production process does not need to be perfect, that creating is part of the process and that we get to learn as we create. And these next few episodes that will be here and shared with you will be visitors that have already shared space with me on the Conscious Communion. And so much a part of that has been because it just felt good for me to visit something familiar. Felt good for me to land in space with someone that felt safe. And again, in the midst of this wintering season, I'm not forcing myself to be anything other than I am. So here I am sharing that with you and asking you to do the same for yourself. If you haven't yet seen, I just shared a new image and a new logo and a new fresh face for the Conscious Communion. And it felt really good to do that, and also really scary because I created it. It's so much more difficult for me to share what I've created and wanting it to be perceived some kind of way. And yet knowing that it felt good for me, yet knowing that it felt aligned for me is what really needed to happen for me to feel safe to then share that work with y'all. So keep your eyes peeled for the new face of the Conscious Communion, and for the new episodes that will be coming at you so very soon. There's so much that's being called forth from me during this year and what is wanting to be birthed from the Conscious Communion specifically. And yet it's not time to share those things with you here now, because I am in that season of stillness, in that season of refinement. So today is really here to just open the door and invite you into your own creation with Spirit, and to not being afraid to whatever is being called forth from you, to create, and to be the artist that you've always been. I'm sending you so much love and ease amidst whatever day you're in, however you're feeling. And I hope you're well. I hope you're doing well. And I hope these next upcoming episodes feel juicy for you. They are really, really incredibly sweet, and I'm excited to share them with you. Friendly faces that you've already seen. And really what we're doing is landing in the liminal space of what's been here for us and what is being called forth from us from Spirit. And so landing with another and then coming into communion and conscious conversation feels really, really good. I'm grateful for you, and thank you so much for being a listener. I would really, really appreciate it if you did like this podcast, if you do like this podcast and you've been along with the ride, if you would like, subscribe, and share. And if you feel like you are willing to leave a review, that also helps too. Sending you so, so much love and deep appreciation. Loving you exactly where you're at. Bye. Hey there, it's Danae again. Just wanted to say thank you for sharing your time and energy with me. If this podcast resonates, please like, subscribe, follow, and share if you're willing. Reviews help too, so if you're feeling the vibe, please leave a review where you can. Sending all the love. Peace.